Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Britton's Hangout Hour episode 159. You might be thinking, Britton, this looks a little different from your usual setup. Well, I'm on Restream because I was trying to experiment
Yeah,
a
he's
little bit.
upgraded.
I
Yeah,
was trying to upgrade a little bit.
looks
But
good, mate.
yeah, no, it looks good. It's a lot bigger than StreamYard. StreamYard has a lot. It's a little more
Yeah, yeah.
spacious. But yeah, anyway.
Mm.
I am here with Cronk, Michael Cronk, from Cronk the Book Guy, or just the Book Guy. I call you
Either's
Cronk.
fine. Yeah,
I call you Cronk the Book Guy because I don't know.
Kronk's good. I like Kronk. Yeah, I mean the inevitable comparisons to the Emperor's New Groove. Pull the
You know,
liver,
that was so
Kronk.
funny. I was
It's
thinking of that too.
yeah, love it. I'm here for all of them. I will never get tired of that.
It's good, but yeah, I'm glad you come on my channel. You're kind of made a niche
Thanks,
for
man.
yourself on BookTube. What would I say that you do?
Ooh,
You
go on.
you introduce slash explain slash analyze certain series or books. I actually first found you because you did the Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I read that back in
Oh, nice.
2024, and I'm like, oh, I hope
Good.
there's videos on this book.
Mm.
Turns out there were.
Love that book.
It's fantastic. It's
Yeah. Oh, there's nothing quite like Jonathan Strange. It's such a unique book. And I also feel like because it's more historical fantasy than like pure fantasy, a lot of fantasy fans overlook it. I'm like, no, you got to try it. It's really good. Good quality stuff.
Yeah, no, it's a great book, and one where there was a blurb on at least my copy where it said um somehow this book makes you want more even though it's 1,000-page tome. Heavily
That's accurate.
paraphrasing,
That's
but
very
it's
accurate.
true.
Yeah. I remember when the author released her second book, Piranesi, and I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh man, I hope it's a direct sequel to." No, it's a completely different book. It was good. It was still good. Yeah, I'll always be
I'm
mad
like,
at
they're
it for
both
not being
good
a direct
for
correlation.
different
Yeah,
reasons, and we'll
that's right.
invite Paranesi to the Thanksgiving dinner. All right, it's got a spot.
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I read Paranesi first because it's shorter, obviously,
fair.
and I'm like,
Much
it
shorter. Yeah.
seems a bit more approachable, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is because I had heard about Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell from some friends of mine. I'm like, this looks cool, but it's very long, so I'll have to kind of prepare
Mm.
myself for that. And then I finally got around to it around I think it was 2024, and took me about 4 months to read, and I enjoyed mostly every moment of it. There were the parts
Yeah.
during
Oh, yeah.
when Strange went to war I thought were a bit kind of
Oh, yeah.
meandered a little bit, which is kind of funny because you'd think that wouldn't mean, but they're still
Yeah, that'd be the
charming.
action sequences.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's still charming parts to that portion of the. None of it's bad, is what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah. That's an interesting point about the war sequence because the war kind of takes place over here,
Uh-huh.
and the rest of the story is over here. It is a little bit disconnected, isn't it? That's a good point.
Or yeah, like when
Hmm.
when he goes to, like, Vienna when everything's going down and he's basically
Mm.
goes insane, or Strange does anyway.
Yeah.
And Norrell's like,
By
"Oh
any chance,
no."
did you watch the yeah? Did you ever watch the TV series?
I saw it was on YouTube for free. I was gonna watch it, and
Oh yeah.
I watched like some clips from it, and I liked what I saw. Bertie
Mm.
Carvel in general, I quite enjoyed him. He played Strange.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Oh, I forget the guy's name, but the guy who played Mr. Norrell, oh, he killed it. Such a fascinating character because Norrell is so antisocial. He's a weird guy. He likes his books,
I've heard some
and
people
the
say he's
actor,
autism coded, and I'm like,
I
that's
think he is
interesting.
personally.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
that's my
I can see
yeah, that's my
that.
take on it. Yeah. Mm. I think the actor definitely played him that way for sure, but it was very well done, very nuanced. Yeah. But no, I'll say with the war sequences in the TV show naturally were a bit more dramatic, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of flair and some really cool sequences. I think they leaned into that because that's the strength of the adaptation going for TV and doing war sequences. But yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a great book, and I've seen some of your other videos. Like I funnily enough, I read Gardens of the Moon which coincidentally I put up a video of a discussion I had with some friends of mine about it today. But
Nice.
I watched your you were like pitching Malazan, I guess, trying to like
Mm, mm.
kind of explain it a little bit. It was basically like a
Yes,
mal. It was like
that
a,
was a tricky one.
it was like your Malazan for Dummies video. I guess you want to
That's
call it
exactly,
that.
yes, yes. I like that. I like that. Look, most of my content is books for dummies. That's my sweet spot.
I should have just said that. You know, I should have just said that. It would have been like, oh, okay, I got that now.
I love it. Yeah, well, a big part of it is like I have a background in academia, so like I got an arts degree with a minor in literature, and I love books, and I used to read a lot of the classic books, like Charles Dickens, and we read a lot of Charles Dickens in uni. Man, we overused him. But one of the things I found in the world of academia is everyone's so elitist. We acquire knowledge only to make ourselves look smarter and to beat everyone else over the head with books to make them feel dumber. And I'm like, no, I think the
like
fundamental...
a bunch of Mr. Norrells, basically.
I like it. Yes, yes. And I just believe knowledge should be shared. And if you're acquiring knowledge, you should try to make it accessible for other people to come in. And so one of the things I found when looking at Malazan videos, Malazan's such a complex series, and everyone wants to analyze it and look smart. And I was like, I'm probably not smart enough to analyze it, but I wanted to try to make it accessible, do an introduction so people can be like, oh, it's not that intimidating. I know what I'm getting myself in for now. And I feel like that worked really well, and I'm quite proud of that. But that's sort of my approach all the time. Like, let's demystify these books, make them accessible, make them easy to get started, and hopefully encourage a little bit more reading and improve some literacy. I think we need a bit more literacy these days.
Yeah, no, it's very well needed. Yes. Hold on, let me move this a little bit. Anyway, yeah, yeah, I mean, you've done a lot of like series and books on your channel. I mean, I appreciated that you covered Strange and Norrell, because it's kind of funny. It wasn't really talked about on BookTube for a while, and then Piranesi came out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this Susanna Clark exists. Oh, there's this other book she wrote. Oh, we'll have to." So like, there was a couple videos in like 2023, 2024, people being like, "Hey, this Strange and Norrell book's actually pretty good. You should go check it out." People should go read it. I don't know when you posted your video about it, but I was like, very nice. Someone's talking about it.
I couldn't remember I think it's a year and a half ago, but yeah, I'm struggling to remember now, maybe. But
I mean, as much as I love Strange and Norrell, I don't want to talk about the whole time, but that's the whole point.
I understand,
that's how I discovered your channel.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, that's one of the things people forget, that BookTube is still kind of new. Like, you wouldn't really say it's older than 10 years. So a lot of the books that we talk about are the current stuff. And so there's not as many people who talk about stuff that even just came out 20 years ago. I mean, do you know the YouTuber Brian Lee Durfee?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be on this iteration of my channel if it weren't for Brian Lee Durfee, because for so long I was awesome. I don't know, I'm not very well spoken, and then I watched Brian Lee Durfee just kind of BS about books for like 20 minutes. I'm just like, no excuse whatsoever. I got to do this.
Right. Clearly, it's not that hard, right? No, but he has such a wealth of knowledge on all the old classic stuff. Like, whenever I watch his channel, I find that there's always mentions of stuff from the 70s through to the 90s. And I'm a 90s child, so most of what I've read is past that. And I'm like, I think it is a little bit of a shame that BookTube focuses so much on the now, when there's a lot of good stuff, not even going back that far.
Yeah, it's I mean, another reason I started this kind of version of the channel is like there were these other kind of books that were looked past, if you will. And I'm like, I want more people to talk about these books. So, which I guess is a reason a lot of us start these channels. So I guess I'm with you on that one. But
very nice.
Yeah, no, yeah, you've done you've done a lot of things. I think you've done the First Law. You've done Malazan. I think you're reading, if I remember, I know you're doing Discworld, are you reading it chronologically, like
Yes.
publishing? Okay.
Yeah, it's not the way I recommend for most people, but for someone like me who's like, I'm committed, a 41 book series is doable. So yeah, chronologically is fine. But for most people, I say it all the time, like Discworld's so long, and most people don't have 41 books worth of reading in them. Like for most people, that would take like a decade. So, you pick your top 3, or maybe you just pick your one series to focus on, and that's totally okay. But been doing a read through on my channel one at a time. It's hard to schedule, but I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, I started Discworld last year. People were like, "Okay, so here's what you can do. There's a little mini series within the whole thing,"
That's
and
right.
I'm like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "Okay, there's one about this guy called Death who runs around, and he has this horse called Binky, and he does all this stuff." I'm like, "That sounds stupid." And he's like, "There's this guy called Rincewald, and he runs around. It's a little rough," and I'm like, "No." And then there's like, "Oh, there's this guards thing." I'm like. It's kind of like a cop show in a fantasy setting. I'm like, tell me a little more about that.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
picked up Guards, and I'm like, okay, Terry Pratchett, bring it. And then I read it. I'm like, okay, this is good. This is well written, and the characters are really well done. And I read Men at Arms. I'm like, okay, this is good. All right, I'm in.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I think Men at Arms is genuinely one of the all-time best Discworld books. I just reread it last week,
Really?
working on the review on it.
that's
But
that's
oh
great.
man, what a fantastic! The finale of that is
Yeah,
perfect.
it's really good.
Like the
I actually
showdown,
I like
it's so
Guards a
good.
little more because I really fell
Oh
in love
really?
with
Okay.
Sam Vimes.
Yeah.
And there wasn't as much Vimes in Men at Arms, but I really liked Carrot's development in Men at Arms, though.
Yeah. He steps up. Yeah.
Yeah, where there's that line where he's like, a lot of people assume that Carrot is simple, which is true, but that's not the same thing as stupid, and you really get to see
Yes.
how he kind
Yes.
of how he kind of plays with that a little bit.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think Men at Arms is a little bit more Carrot focused, but again, every time we get to see a side by side comparison with Carrot and Vimes, and we see the hopeful optimist next to the cynical, grumpy bastard, they bring out the best in each other. It's so satisfying. Not to mention, like every time they talk about their worldview and their beliefs, it's such a seamless way to include them in the story in a way that benefits the story, and their belief in humanity, the way that they look at like their job and crime and how to protect the city, like so fundamentally different, but still wanting the same thing. It's so enjoyable.
Yeah, no, some friends are like, well, don't worry, Vimes does, he's still a big part of the books moving forward. And I'm like, oh,
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking forward to this. And he gets some good
Right.
moments at Men at Arms too, like especially at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're up to Feet of Clay.
Yeah, I'm hoping
I think that's
to.
the third one.
I'm
Okay.
hoping to read at least Feet of Clay this year, and also I'm just gonna get Color Magic and Light Fantastic out of the way because I'm doing a show with some friends of mine who are fans of Discworld, and I've been reading it with them, and they've accompanied me. Basically going
That's
like, "Oh,
exciting.
here's this thing you missed." I'm like, "Oh no!" Or they'll go like, "You know what? I think you're onto something, Britton." I'm like, "Oh, thank you. I feel much better about this." But anyway,
Very nice.
so yeah, that's kind of plans. But I'm actually planning on reading a bunch of like standalone fantasy this year because I read Malazan. I'm like, that's a bit too epic for my taste. I'm gonna chill out with the epics for a minute.
I think you're onto something, mate, because I recently did a poll on my Patreon because I get them to vote on, what should I read next sort of thing. And couldn't believe it. I suggested all these wonderful series that I thought were going to be a slam dunk. And then I got to put 4 options on this poll. I put standalones, and everyone voted standalones. I was like,
Interesting.
what? Yeah. And I thought, but I'm the guy who reviews series. That's my thing. And all these people like standalones. But I think there's a real need for that in the booktube community because a lot of people want to read without big commitments, without a big pressure to do the full series. They just want to read one simple book in their spare time. And yeah, I think that's something that people will be into. So good on you.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the nice things about not being such a big channel is I can kind of just do whatever I want, and people can just Though I do have my, I call them my beloved audience. I do have my beloved audience vote on polls from time to time to get me to do stuff. But, you know, I mean, hey, not knocking people who do Patreon, but I've been kind of uncomfortable with the idea of starting a Patreon because I'm like, I don't want people. I mean, I don't mind people sending me money, but I feel kind of uncomfortable about it because I don't know what I would do with it.
I look, honestly, mate, that's very normal.
What do you do with your Patreon? With your Patreon cheddar, do you just like put it to the channel? Get more books?
Well, one of the things I try to do is just interact with people as much as possible there, you know, like, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of other YouTubers will have like a Discord and then they'll have their Instagram and then they have their Patreon. And man, I'm not a very social person. You know, I like my books. I stay inside. I don't go out much, you know. And so interaction with people is a bit funny for me. But at the same time, Patreon's a great way just to try to encourage people with their own personal reading, you know, talk about it or get feedback on different polls. Yeah, or just talk about behind the scenes stuff, you know. But it's a weird thing because like when you're a content creator, it's hard to act like you got to do stuff that actually gets you money so that you can eat, so that you can keep making it, you know. And finding that balance, like it feels disingenuous, you know. I feel like, oh man, I'm just trying to get people money off people, you know. But I'm like, it's part of the job, you know, if you want to turn it into a job, you know. But yeah, sometimes it's just about overcoming the awkwardness and trying to get there, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I already have a Discord though. I mean, not a lot of people post on it, but I have it, so it exists. But yeah, no, I kind of feel bad. I'm like, I might have jumped the gun a little too early on that, but you know, it is what it is. It's not like I'm gonna get rid of it anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, and then there's also that part of, oh, I have fans. That's interesting. People like,
yeah,
people like want to know what I'm talking about. Because, you know, I hate to, again, you were talking about sounding disingenuous earlier. I'm like, well, you know, I'm putting my videos out there. I want people to, like, interact with my videos. But, like, when it happens, you're like, huh. Like, people get what I'm talking about. Because, you know, I spend a lot of time by myself. So, you know, all I can do is really just think about things. I'm like, so sometimes I'll put out discussion videos where I'm like, here's this thing that just either bothered me or something I've just been thinking about. What do you guys think about it? And there's even times I'm like, I don't know, this might be a little controversial. And everyone's like, yeah, well, yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm not crazy.
It is interesting how like controversy can get the clicks sometimes, which I find like if you lean into it too much.
Yeah, like I guess my point being like I thought more I would get more backlash is what I was getting at, and then no, people are just like, oh yeah, no, that was really well said, Britton. I'm like, oh really? Okay,
nice. So what else are you reading at the moment? So you said you were doing some Discworld, and you'd swapped out Malazan for standalones. Was that about right?
Yes, or well, just series in general. Though I am making an exception. I am hoping to read the Jade trilogy this year because I've been meaning to get to that for several years now, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, Britton, you should read this." And I'm like, "I'll get to it. I'll get to it." And I'm like, "This year, I'm gonna do it." So yeah, have you made a video on that one? This is probably a dumb question to ask.
Yes, I have. Jade City is honestly top tier for me. It really is.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, you know, I gotta, you know, I like reading trilogies. I like a good trilogy, you know, 3 books, you knock them out, you're feeling good about yourself. You're like, I did something.
That's right.
But yeah, no, I'm also really fascinated because it's like, it's kind of like a kung fu crime saga with like a magical thing, and I'm like, that sounds awesome. I want to read that. And
that's exactly right.
And you know, people are just like, yes, Britton, it is. Now go read it. And I'm like, okay, so probably around March, I'll probably start with Jade City and kind of split it up throughout the year. That's usually how I do it when I do trilogies. Like I read Philip Chase's Idan trilogy a few years ago and had him on to talk about it. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I watched that video. It was a lot of fun.
I was going to. Speaking of, I'm hoping to read While Darkness Gathers as part of the standalones. I'm going to be reading this year.
Yes.
Oh, but yeah, going back to Jade City, the Jade trilogy. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that. I hear a lot of good things about it. I'm like, oh well, this is fantastic. I gotta read this. So.
One of my favorite things about it is there's one of the key characters in the trilogy is called Hilo, and Hilo is just this. He's honestly a really violent person. Like, he's just completely desensitized to violence, but he's so fiercely loyal to his family and he loves them dearly. And so he's this incredibly nuanced character that's capable of extreme violence and even some pretty awful acts, where a couple times it's like, you bastard, I hate you now. And then other times he'd just like absolutely, throw himself under a bus if it meant helping his family. I'm like, oh, I love him so much. And the back and forth on this one character was absolutely a highlight of the whole thing. Like, I love characters who aren't pure good or pure evil. Have good motivations for what they do, even if they do some pretty awful stuff. And Hilo, I think, is in one of the ways one of the best types of that character. Like, he reminded me of like Walter White in many ways, or like an Amos Burton from The Expanse type thing. And characters like that are just so rich with layers because they have strong.
Or like Jamie Lannister from A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yes, good one. Yes, I knew there was another one I was trying to think of. Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
that's the one that pops to my mind anyway.
No, he's great example. Yeah, but no, that's a real highlight of that one. So I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I'm
curious.
Yeah, I mean, I've read a lot of the famous ones. So I read like the First Law. I've read the Gentleman Bastard sequence, the 3 ones that have come out. Though Lynch has kind of been slowly kind of making his way into the spotlight again, so maybe we'll get book 4. Hopefully. Hopefully. I would like that. I'd like to at least wash the taste, the issues I had with book 3 out of my mouth. That would be wonderful. But
I can appreciate that. I had a similar experience with book 3 of that one. Yeah, I was like, oh, what?
And it was funny. It wasn't like. It wasn't the, like, a lot of people were like, oh, the love story kind of dragged a bit. And I'm like, I liked the love story. Like, I thought it, or, I mean, okay. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I don't know if liked was the right word, but like, I didn't mind it so much. Like, it was already built up. I liked their dynamic. I did like that a lot. But like,
that's a good point, actually.
But I felt that book 3 kind of just inverted, just took the suspense away from what makes the first 2 books good, what makes the series kind of what it is. It's like, I'm like, when I read like this series, I think of, okay, Locke and John are going to get themselves into a bind, and the whole story is about how they're going to get out of that. And Republic of Thieves is like, no, he's going to do this whole political chicanery. And I'm like,
election time. Yeah. That's a good point, actually, because you're right. Actually, I did like. I'm forgetting her name now, but the relationship between Locke and the love interest, and I feel so bad I can't remember her name, but it's been a while. It's like, I got to admit, you're right. The dynamic, their rivalry was entertaining. Yeah,
it's like it's a real Salieri, like Mozart dynamic. I think.
I like that, Salieri. Yes.
Where like she's just so annoyed that this plucky kid who came from nowhere, she's worked really hard to be really good at what she does. Here comes this plucky kid out of nowhere, and he's just so good at it. He's just so naturally gifted at it, and it drives her crazy. I liked that part. I'm like, if it had just been a book about that, like, I probably would have liked it. I would have liked it a lot more.
Yeah. No, I just felt like they had the conversation of, I love you. No, you don't really love me. I swear that I was like, is this the 6th time we're having the same discussion? Yeah, that was a bit much for me.
Yeah,
but you're right. Actually, I should remember the dynamic between them was really good.
I can see how that annoys some people, which I'll admit, sometimes the whole like, you don't really love me, and it's like, no, yeah, that can get kind of annoying. Now the
Yeah, yeah.
flashback sequence in Republic of Thieves, I'm like, yes, that's a Locke and John story, Scott Lynch. Like, how do you know?
Yeah, yeah. Why
How
isn't
do you...
that the book?
Exactly. I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
Great point.
I was about
I'm
to write him. I
curious.
was gonna write him an angry email about should have done this, and he'll be like, "Who are
So,
you?" Sorry, you were gonna ask
no,
something.
you're okay. You're okay. So, yeah, as a booktuber, so you mentioned that people have been telling you to read the Jade trilogy. I'm curious, what else are you getting pressure from? Because I know personally, man, I got a lot of pressure for Sun Eater for like 2 years. Like I couldn't post a video without someone
Sun
being
Eater
like,
is
"When's Sun
one
Eater?"
I've had some
Yeah.
friends tell me to go read. Malazan, oh my, like Malazan is one where for a long time, even before I was even on BookTube and met a bunch of people who like do Malazan stuff or like really big into. I've had like friends, not in real life, but like just friends of mine who are like, "Yo, Malazan's like the real deal," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, whatever, okay." And then I finally got to it. Discworld was another one. A lot of people were telling me to read. Um, I'm sure there's other ones. I'm sure I'll think of some as we're talking here, but those are some main ones.
That's
And
really interesting.
Discworld's one of those ones. I'm like, well, crap. I should have been reading this earlier. So you know what? I can forgive the harassment now.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's a funny point because I swear that Discworld has something for everyone, but in many ways you got to find the right sub series for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of people start with the Rincewind books, and he's just like a cowardly wizard who runs away from everything and fails at everything. And while it's funny, it's not great at the same
That
time.
can get
To put
old
it
really
simply.
fast.
Yeah, yeah. It's like let's read 5 books of the same joke, you know. But yeah, I think that there is the right series for everyone out there somewhere.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was attracted to the City Watch one because they were like, oh, it's kind of like a cop show, and I like reading a lot of crime novels, so I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a crack. That seems like something I would actually like, and I did. And I read it, and I'm like, okay, this is, oh yeah, all right. I'm glad I started here. And Sam Vimes, MVP. I love that man. Just give him everything, bro. Like how there isn't been like a TV show about those guys is ridiculous.
Well, it's interesting. Actually, there was a brief TV show, I think about 2, maybe 3 years ago, just called The Watch. But it was almost universally considered a very unfaithful adaptation of the series. So
Yes,
they were like, "Oh, well, they've got all the same names, but everything else is it's just like a whole bunch of made-up plot lines." So it was actually officially done by the Pratchett estate, though. Like I know Rhianna Pratchett, his daughter, had a lot to do with the production, but even so, it wasn't really accepted by the fans. I haven't even watched it myself because I just couldn't bear to go through that again.
Yeah, I was originally wanting to read Death first because a lot of people were like, "Oh man, like that one will change your life," and I was like, "Oh okay, yeah, I'll try that." And then people were like, "No, Britton, you should go here," and I'm just like, "This is driving me crazy." And then finally, I put my foot down. I'm like, "I'm gonna do the City Watch. I've made up my mind. Not changing it."
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's interesting because I swear in BookTube,
I've even gotten
like,
some
you
comments
got to
from
read
people who's
Death.
like, "Oh, you should have started here," and I'm like, "Well, I started with Guards, so get out of here."
But I swear everyone's like, either you got to read Death or you got to read the City Watch. And I'm like, for me, honestly, I love the Witches novels. And a big part of
I've
that
heard
is
that.
Witches
Those
are
are
all
really
about
good too.
folklore, mythology, different stories and intertextual references to other stories. And for me, with an academic background, I loved it. I mean, I studied a whole bunch of Shakespeare in college.
I mean, like
and
Small
so to
Gods
read
was
books
one
that
I
were based
wanted to
off it,
read because my favorite fantasy novel of all
that's a
time
good one.
is American Gods, which is kind of some people are saying, which some people have said that Gaiman does owe a debt to Small Gods in a sense.
That's
Him
very
and Terry
true.
Pratchett
Actually,
were close friends, so I mean, it's not like
yeah.
it's not like he stole
Yeah,
it and
absolutely.
people
No,
were like,
they
"Hey."
read Good Omens together. No, very true. I mean, I think the concept in Small Gods of gods getting their power from mortals' belief in them, that's a common theme throughout all the Discworld books. But it's especially explored in Small Gods, and I think that's exactly the concept that Gaiman took and then applied it to the real world.
Yeah,
So yeah, definitely a lot of overlap there.
which, you know, a lot of people, I've had some people over the years go like, really? Like American Gods is your favorite? I'm like, look, I read it. I was 18 years old. I was in the school gym. I was in my high school gym. I read it, and from the first line, I was sucked in. You know, I can't describe it. It's one of those types of books, and some people don't like the kind of meandering tone of that book. I'm like, I love it. I kind of love it. I kind of love they're just kind of hanging out, and here's all these weird things in America we're seeing.
Yeah, yeah. Tell you what, though, I've always thought. I hate to compliment Gaiman at the moment, but
you know what?
I must
I hear you.
compliment him.
No, I hear you. You know.
Yeah. But I
mean, it's
genuinely
awkward
love
for
how
me.
he wrote the character Shadow.
American Gods is my
yeah.
favorite fantasy novel.
Yeah,
Like, how do you think I feel?
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, the pain is real. I get that. But I think the way he wrote Shadow was a really good thing. Like Shadow he's a quiet character. He's a very introverted protagonist. He almost never talks, and yet we know who he is. We get a sense of his personality, his wants, and I genuinely think most protagonists have to be very extroverted. They go around singing their thoughts out loud so that the reader can notice it, and it's hard to do a quiet main character like Shadow.
Also, like Shadow goes to the ringer in like the first like 5% of the book. So I mean, you know, kind of
doesn't he just?
Yeah, no, it's but yeah, no, it's like, yeah, I was kicked in the balls emotionally quite a bit last year, so, you know, I was like, it's great. But anyway, yeah, Small Gods. Going back to Discworld though, Small Gods, I would love to get to at some point. Maybe I'll sneak it in this year, since technically it's a standalone, but you know, I make no promises.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it was funny in Men at Arms, and I'm like, wait, who the hell is this talking dog? Like, is it real or what? And then it's like, oh, he's in this book called Moving Pictures. You can go read that. And I'm like, oh, okay, well. One of the things I am kind of interested in with Discworld, and kind of a gripe I have sometimes with fantasy, is like, it's not often you see like a fantasy world change, you know, like go through you know, which is why I'm kind of interested in reading like The Age of Madness from Joe Abercrombie at, you know, some point. I'll get around to that.
Great example of that, yes.
But I've heard Discworld does very similar, like Moving Pictures is about films. I think, anyway.
No, you're exactly correct. There is an ongoing thing with Discworld where we get introduced to new technologies. So I've seen people try to say that there is a technology or an industry sub-series, which isn't exactly true, starting with a book, Pyramids, and then Moving Pictures. But later on, we get, like one of the final books is called Raising Steam, which is about building the first railway track across the Discworld. So it's very much like industrial revolution type thing. And it's something that they've like approached a few times about new technologies coming in. But I think for me, you're 100% correct that fantasy, the technology never changes. You know, you can spend 5,000 years in one place.
I should say.
Yeah, that's
rarely.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you know, you could make the argument like, oh, Lord of the Rings, you know, J.R. Tolkien in some of his notes wrote about like, yeah, whatever. But generally not. I find that I wish more fantasy would do that, because I think that would be really fascinating. I think there's a lot of ground you can cover there. Like, well, how would myths and fantastical creatures change with a changing world? You know, sorry, I don't want to get into a sub. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that, but you were going to ask me something.
I was, if you've read any of the Mistborn books.
No, I haven't actually read Brandon Sanderson yet. That's another one people have gotten after me to read. And Robin Hobb. Robin Hobb is one people have told me to read. I'm like, I hope you know who Derry is from Derry's read it before. She loves Robin Hobb, and as a matter of fact, I'm doing my Discworld show. She's one of the people on there because she loves Discworld so much. I know Derry. We're actually trying to organize having a chat on her channel because she loves Robin Hobb. I think she might actually love it more than I do, which is a big deal. which 2027 people, maybe Robin Hobb. I'll just say that and I'll keep it there.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. But
yeah,
sorry,
with Mistborn, that's right. Sanderson's idea with Mistborn was that it was exactly that. He always didn't like the fact that technology never develops, and so he wanted to write a trilogy of trilogies. Was his original vision, where each trilogy would be a few hundred years apart, and there would be different levels of technology. So one would be pure fantasy, one would be like the start of the computer age, and one would be a sci-fi age. And instead,
I've thought about reading Mistborn out of all of them because they seem a bit more approachable than like
they are
the Stormlight
Stormlight
Archives. I think is what it's called.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Sorry, my blanking, but I got it, so it's okay.
No, that's okay. I totally get that. But yeah, he ended up writing Era 2 after the original trilogy, which wasn't the computer age. It was instead more like a classic Western type age, where you've got horse and carriages, maybe the first automobile, and you got a couple of guns in your holsters type thing, And so there's like developing technologies at that point. And he's currently working on Ghost Bloods, which will be the modern era type thing.
Interesting.
It's yeah.
I mean, I've been kind of hesitant to do Brandon Sanderson for a long time because I've just never really found his approach that interesting from what I like personally. But that might be interesting. I'll have to check that out because again, I think there's a lot of untapped potential from like, well, what if a fantasy society moves forward? What would that look like? Which again, I'm not saying like nobody's done it, but it's it's not touched on enough, I'll say. At least I think so.
I'm curious, did you say you'd read The Age of Madness?
I have not yet. I want to.
Okay.
I'm actually hoping to
read, yeah, that's exactly what you're describing, that it's got the start of the industrial age and mass workers being laid off because machines are taking their jobs type thing, a lot of civil unrest. Yeah, very grim dark. You can imagine how people react to that.
Yes, I imagine, Joe doesn't treat the characters any better than in the first series. So, hoping to read the heroes because a lot of people. Yeah. I wanted to read Red Country, which I still might, but I wanted to read the heroes because a lot of people are like that might be the best single book he's ever written. I'm like, oh, okay, well, personally,
You know what? Out of the 3 standalones that he did, I would say Heroes is the best.
Yeah, no, I read Best Served Cold because they announced the film, and I'm like, well, okay. I was kind of Abercrombie'd out at that point because I had read the trilogy, the original one. I was kind of like, oh, okay, I'll just do it. Which I thought was fun. I liked it. There was some really fun character stuff, but I was kind of like, I feel like he just kind of said this a lot better in the original trilogy. So not really saying anything new here, but no, it's I liked Shivers. I thought Shivers' journey was good.
Yes, good. Yeah, Shivers is definitely a highlight. So I won't spoil anything, but Shivers I think he's the only character who's in all 3 of those standalone books. So there are a lot of fans who call it the Shivers trilogy unofficially. And so technically, you are supposed to read those 3 in order, and then you see a little bit more of Shivers in the next 2 books, and you sort of see more of his story. But it's like that's the only real subplot, besides one other character. But they are standalone. But Shivers, you see a bit more of him in the others.
Yeah, it's funny. I've done some videos where I've recommended comics to certain booktubers that I think they would like, and I remember Vera is quite a big fan of The Witcher. I'm like, I think she would love Hellboy because she likes The Witcher so much. And she's like, well, The First Law actually is my favorite series, but thank you for thinking of me with The Witcher thing. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a little embarrassing, but hope you enjoy Hellboy nonetheless.
Well, this actually raises a good topic because I barely, if ever, read comic books. Where would a total newbie start?
Oh man, well,
I know that's a broad question.
I know,
isn't
yeah. I mean, if there's one, I always kind of go with this because I try to think of approachability at this point because There's some like Marvel and DC where there's like continuity, and that can kind of scare people off, which I understandable.
Yeah, yeah.
I would, if there's one comic I think everyone should read at least once, it's Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples.
Ooh,
It is
okay.
it is wonderful. I really do think so. It's not even done yet, but like those first like that first like arc from like before they went on hiatus for a bit is just, it's great. It's really, really good all the way through.
I'm just taking notes. Can you say that again? What was the name?
Saga, Saga.
Saga. Okay.
And I've joked about this a couple times. I'm like, the how BookTube is not gooned over this series is just absolutely preposterous, because it's got like, it's like this weird sci fantasy thing. It's got heart, it's got emotion, it's got humor, it's a beautiful love story. Yeah, it's great. So yeah, that's one. I mean, Hellboy's another one I think people should go read, because it's so weird and fun.
Oh yeah, are you a fan of the movie adaptations, or did they not quite hit?
I didn't actually get into Hellboy until like not too long ago. I do like I do like the Del Toro. I think it was the first one. I like that one. I thought that was pretty good. I haven't watched any of the other ones.
Okay.
Actually,
Yeah,
that's not true. I watched the Harbor one, and I thought that was really bad. But aside from that, I haven't watched any of the other ones.
I haven't watched the Harbor one either, and it was entirely for that reason. I just heard so many like, ugh. So yeah, which is a shame, because I read this article about how much work Harbor put into the characterization.
I know, it sucks.
And people are just like, whoa, that's yeah. Sometimes like you can be good in a bad project,
Yeah, no, it's but yeah, no, yeah, I mean, I could go like The Sandman, but I really don't want to go through the hassle at the moment to be like, okay, guys, look, I know that certain article came out about those certain things, question mark. It's probably the wrong term for it, or that happened, and I don't know what to say about it, but that's a great series. Good luck, kid. It's funny. One of my friends started reading it recently, and he just kind of, I kind of got the sense that he had a real hard time kind of separating, Gaiman from that, But anyway,
no, I completely understand. I mean, I did a video essay a little while ago called "Should We Read Offensive Books?" And part of that discussion was talking about offensive authors and do you support their beliefs? How do you interact with them? And the truth is, like, as much as I think some people want to put a hard label, like you must have this response or you must have that response, and I'm like, it's still such a gray area. And I personally leave it up to the individual choice about what they're willing to read and how they're willing to engage with art, and try to just like respect other people's belief on that one. I think there are things that we should take a hard stance on in life, but choosing which authors to engage with, I'm not sure if that's a hard thing. But anyway, people can cancel me for that one. I'll take that.
No, but yeah, I mean, I could recommend that one, but it's kind of, again, so I'll be like, okay, you can't. I still recommend that series, by the way, but Saga. I would say Saga, if nothing else.
Yeah, good suggestion. And as a comic book fan, do you also read a lot of manga?
I've started kind of dipping my toe a bit. I've read Berserk, which I was kind of like,
oh yeah,
I'm like, this seems kind of edgelordy. And I read the Golden Age. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. Okay, this is great. I've even told people in the past, I'm like, if you just started with the Golden Age, went back and read the kind of where it chronologically started, I think that might be a better experience. At least it was, I think it would have been for me personally. But there's people who are like, no, Britton, shut your mouth. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I also really like Naoki Urasawa.
Sorry.
Because I just get really irritated with like the anime-isms is what I like to call them. That's why I hadn't, done like One Piece. I know a lot of people love One Piece. And what's funny, I actually watched a live action show with a friend of mine because he was, he loves One Piece. He was getting after me. I'm like, I'll watch the first episode of the live action show and I'll see where I go with it. And I'm like, okay, this is pretty good, and it's actually a pretty good show. So I liked it anyway. And most people I know who like One Piece like the live action show, so it's not a hot take, I don't think. So, and he's like, oh yeah, it's like the first like 100 like issues. I'm just like, it took 100 issues to do that? Like they did it in 8 episodes, and I thought it worked fine.
Yeah.
Which what are you gonna do? But yeah, no, I do read some manga, but I'm really bad at like I'm not like a diehard. There's some I want to get to though. Like I remember watching this like kind of weird, like kind of hypnotic anime back in like middle school, and I didn't know what it was called at the time until someone was like, "Oh, you mean Mushishi?" And I'm like, "Yes, that." Because I watched it, I'm like, "Huh, this is like really nice and weird, and aka stuff I like." So like there's no
nice
like
and weird. That's the sweet spot.
over the topness like that I don't like in some anime. Yeah, no, it's but yeah, no, I'm kind of more inexperienced with manga, but I want to try more. I would like to, because
yeah, I know what you mean. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and again, in the same way, I haven't touched too much of it, much like comics. But one of the things that sort of puts me off, if I'm being totally honest, is that if you dip your toe in it and talk about it, people will just like show up en masse and be like, you gotta try this, now you gotta try this, you gotta try this. And I'm like, I think my reading schedule's pretty full on just fantasy and sci-fi, I mean, like I was talking just yesterday about the idea of reviewing classic books like the Charles Dickens or War and Peace.
Yeah, and classics have kind of made a comeback a little bit, because I've seen a lot of booktubers going like, hey, these classics are actually pretty good, guys. Like, I don't know about you.
Yeah.
It's funny. My reading journey is
if you start reviewing them, all of a sudden people are going to be like, oh, have you tried this one? Have you tried this one? Have you tried this one? I was like, I want to dip my toe. I don't want to go hard into it.
Yeah, like I grew up reading like illustrated classics when I was a kid. Like, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I read those and I just really liked a lot of those. Those stories. So I really liked classics when I was a kid. I didn't really get into fantasy until a little later. I mean, I always kind of liked the fantastical, but it wasn't until like middle school when I read like Harry Potter and like Lord of the Rings for the first time where I was like, whoa. I also like the Magic Tree House, which like nobody talks about, but I'm like, does anyone remember the Magic Tree House? Like that was a fun series.
Magic Tree House. I'm wondering, who's the author?
Mary Pope Osborne, if I remember correctly. I think that's who wrote it. But yeah, no, it's I mean, not a lot of people talk about it so much. It's like it's kind of like Arthurian, but they travel back in time. And I was a big history guy, so I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Yeah. But yeah,
great.
But yeah, no, but it wasn't until like I read like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, and I was like, whoa, this is even though like Harry Potter, like now I'm kind of like, there's some stuff in there. Like, for instance, I'm just going to get this out of the way, and I'm sure this isn't a hot take, but the world building in Harry Potter is not good. In my opinion.
That's correct. Yes. Very true.
Which,
very true.
To be fair, I don't think that's a hot take. I think a lot of people agree that the world building is not good in that series. She doesn't put
the time turners just break everything.
She doesn't put like the same amount of like love and affection to the actual wizarding world than she does in like Hogwarts. Because like there were parts in Harry Potter where I'm like, how does this government work? Like, I don't think we need to know this for like the story. Like, sure, but like I'm kind of a world building nerd, so that stuff always kind of annoys me a little bit.
That's true. I think it was the 6th book where we actually get introduced to like how the government works.
Yeah.
Where like the magical government actually comes and have a chat with the British Prime Minister for the first time. And it's like the one and only time we get a sense of like what the mortals are doing this whole time. Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of like, the mortals are real chill with the like wizards running around doing stuff, but anyway.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, again, I don't think this is a hot take by any means, but yeah, the world building in Harry Potter, not great. Could be better.
Mm.
Um,
No, very, very much agree. Yep.
yeah, which that's good because I don't I haven't met many people who said the world building was good, but but anyway, I like Harry Potter. Is what I'm saying. So I like all the problematic media. It was funny. I
Well,
didn't read Harry
yeah,
Potter
you're
till like
aware of
middle
it.
school. I'm like, this is like good, guys. Like, what are you guys talking about? This is a good book, guys.
I think the strength, if there was a defense to be made for the Harry Potter world building, is that it is wondrous.
Sure,
It's
yeah.
very childlike, it's fun, it's magical, and you feel like you're exploring a beautiful and happy and safe world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's one of the reasons why that's the story that got made into a theme park, because it's the kind of place you want to go and explore and have a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of already said it, but I feel like Hogwarts is better developed as a setting than the actual like wizarding world, which I guess makes sense
Yes.
because that's where most of the drama happens.
Hmm. Not to mention when they leave Hogwarts, the drama gets real flimsy, because like the location did most of the story for them.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like they're on the run
Yeah,
throughout like book 7. I'm like, God, let's go back to Hogwarts. Do that.
yeah, yeah.
Which then when they go back to
Camping
Hogwarts, I'm like,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, the story's good again. That's nice.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, I have a very soft place in my heart for that series.
Hmm.
It's kind of like the Dark Tower, which is such a
Oh yeah.
weird. I think you've done a video on this as well, which that's such a
Yes.
weird
Yes.
thing on BookTube
It
anyway, because like
is so weird.
it's like there are the people who really like it and they like talk about it, but like it's not really as talked about as like a First Law or like Brandon Sanderson or like Robin Hobb, or at least I feel like Robin Hobb's everywhere. I don't know if maybe it's just my perception.
No, that's pretty accurate.
Or
I
Malazan.
mean, it goes back to what we were saying at the start, where I think like BookTube is relatively new,
That's
and even
true,
stuff
yeah.
that was done 20 years ago. Yeah, I think the last Dark Tower book was mid 2010s. I want to say
Yeah.
2005, but off the top of my head. And like the first book was written in the early 80s, so it was way back. It's a little bit of an older series, which is why I don't think it's as current to talk about. But
Yeah,
yeah, definitely one of the weirdest things.
I feel a lot of empathy for the Malazan fans when trying to pitch the series now, because I'm like, because it's like Dark Tower. I really like the Dark Tower. I think Dark Tower is just like one of the most batshit insane things you'll ever read in your life.
It's like a fever dream.
But that first book is it can be a hard sell for people. That great opening line aside, because it's very like someone described it as a fever dream. It's what you said earlier. I'm like, yeah. And then it's like book 2 where he's like, okay, this is what I want it to be. Here you go. So I don't know.
Yeah, book 2 was the one that sold me on the concept. I'll be totally honest, but I don't know. Like, normally I try to tell people, oh, you have to read up. The first book is a good indication of how the rest of the series works. Oh no, in this series you got to read up to book 3 to really get it. But Dark Tower, man, there is no normal book to describe that series.
Yeah,
it's I don't know at what point you're like, this is real Dark Tower stuff. Like it changes so much.
Maybe the drawing of the 3.
Maybe, yeah. And it's like book 4 is the Wizard in the Glass, where they have the whole prequel backstory for Roland. And in many ways, that's like one of the least weird books and the most grounded in his personal life. And it's really good. And then we go back to batshit crazy stuff in the next one, with the wolves and
kind of, if I'm just kind of going through here's what I wish more fantasy would do kind of soapbox, but I really like Dark Tower especially because like I've never really seen, I'm sure there's some that exist out there, but I've never really seen a fantasy series that is uniquely American.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah,
because a lot of fantasy, even from like Nothing wrong with this, by the way. I like a lot of these series
Yeah,
too,
yeah, I get that.
but a lot of it's based on like Europe, UK especially.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like Song of Ice and Fire is very much inspired by like England's history and first law. I don't know what specific historical sources Joe Abercrombie was pulling from there, but also English inspired. Like he literally calls it England, for God's sake. So I'm like, okay,
Yes. Yeah.
that's
Subtle.
yeah,
Yes.
But I not again. I'm sure they exist somewhere, but I've never really seen like an American epic that's like steeped in Americana before. And like Dark Tower kind of taps that, like a true like American epic fantasy. Again, I'm sure they exist somewhere. I've known like my friend Sam really liked a guy named DJ Taylor who kind of plays with that stuff little bit. But yeah, I find that really fascinating because like it's a Western, but there's kind of like a King Arthur thing going on. But it's basically a bunch of gunslingers instead of knives or knights. What am I talking about?
No, that's very true. It actually reminds me, now that you mention it, it reminds me of Sun Eater because Sun Eater is very like America in space. At least that was my perspective as an Australian reading it. I'm just like, we're traveling through all these spaces, all these planets and different cultures, 16,000 years in Earth's future. And I'm like, but everyone's American. It was the weirdest thing. And everyone else is loving it. I'm just like, what? How did only Americans get to space? Is that established in the law somewhere? But it's just it's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with like the English, inspired stuff. I like a lot of that stuff too. I mean, like, like one of my first fantasy series was Song of Ice and Fire, and that one just kind of was like, whoa, I didn't know fantasy could do that. Like, which I know is like a super like 13-year-old thing to say, but I didn't know like fantasy could like go to such places like that at the time. And yeah, I mean now I've read like the first law and you're like, oh okay, yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, no, it's a really but yeah, no, it's I that's another thing. I'm like I wish that there were more fantasies that kind of leaned into that kind of cultural, because I think America has a really interesting culture that you can play a lot with, like Native American stuff and the Western, of course. I know the Dresden Files exist, so I mean I haven't read it yet, but I've heard they exist, so I'll say that. I'm sure you've done videos on that as well. I'd be kind of surprised if you hadn't, because that's pretty popular as well.
Yeah, well, actually, they just released a new Dresden books this week on Tuesday, I think it was, which is like it's been 5 years since the last one, so we're kind of like in the middle of Dresden hype at the moment.
That's funny. You know what's so funny? I there's people who are like, okay, like the first couple are like fun, but like just like, but there's roughness there, and I'm like, okay, cool, and it generally drives me nuts when people go like, oh, wait till like book 4 it gets really good. I hate that, but sometimes I'm like, it kind of, sometimes you kind of have to be hypocritical a little bit, like with Dark Tower, you're just like, okay, read the Gunslinger, have fun with it, and then go to book 2, and that's really where he refines it. But
yeah,
but yeah,
I've heard book 3 is the magic one. Yeah,
I feel like Dresden, I'll give it a little more leeway because it's I've heard it's more episodic. Kind of.
Yeah. Plus, they're so short. Like the first 2 are barely 300 pages. So it's not like you got to read 3 monstrous Malazan books to get to the third one. It's like it's pretty easy going. I also just like it because it's so accessible. I often find like if someone's like, I want to try fantasy, what I'm like, try Dresden. Short, easy. It's grounded in the real world. It's easy for new fantasy fans to come in and try it. But I think for established readers, if you want
as much as I wish I could tell everyone you should read Lord of the Rings, like that'll just kind of that'll get you going. But like, there's some people I've met who are like, they're just walking around for 300 pages. I'm like, okay, I'll have to find something a bit more modern.
Right.
It'd be kind of hard,
like,
man.
Stop singing songs. There are poems every 10 pages, and they just go for so long every time.
Yeah, no, it's I love Lord of the Rings, but I'm not gonna pretend it's perfect. It's almost. It's almost.
Yes.
It's almost. Not quite. Also, the movies are great too. But anyway, um, I mean, as much as I could go, like, okay, if you just want like everything fantasy has been for the past like 60, 70 years, just read those 3 books and have a blast. But again, it's
Mm.
they are old. You have to get accustomed to them. They're very leisurely, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think sometimes with both fantasy and sci-fi, they're genres that should be constantly pushing the boundaries and trying new things. And I think we do have what I will call like the Lord of the Rings and the Dune effect, where we have these
Yeah.
massive juggernauts in the genre that almost are like anchors holding us to the past and to old stories. I've seen so many Lord of the Rings copies, I've seen so many Dune copies, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
no,
I really like, as good as they are, I almost feel as though we need to almost let them go in a funny way.
it's funny you
Or at
say that.
least,
I mean, that's not new, by the way. I mean, like, there is Epic Poo out there if you've ever heard of that.
no.
Um,
That was great with no context. Epic poo. All right.
yeah, no, it's like Winnie the Pooh, but yeah, anyway. I actually, it's funny you say that because I made a video about that where I'm like, you think that, like, because to me, the 2 most influential writers in modern fantasy as we know it today are J.R.R. Tolkien and Robert E. Howard, who did Lord of the Rings and Conan the Cimmerian, respectively. Like, all the fantasy that has come from since then go back to those 2 guys. And I made a video a while back where I was kind of like, do you think we're kind of in a weird spot? Because, like, there's a lot of people who've kind of reformatted some of the themes played in those 2 works for a modern audience, and they've done it. There's some who've done it well, there's some who've done it not so well. But it's like, do you think, like, we're being held back by that? And it was I had fun making it. I got a lot of interesting comments out of it. But that's something I've wondered as well, because it's sometimes I'm like let's like broaden the horizons a little bit. Let's get dangerous. There's sometimes I think about it.
But then there's almost like a new problem if you do that as well, because I find I try to read a lot of indie books, by new authors who, want me to review their books on the channel, sort of thing. And I get a lot of ideas that are almost too weird. They're just so far out there. And I'm just like, I don't know how I could market this book to people. I don't know how I could sell them on it, because it's kind of nuts, and it's an unfortunate thing where I think sometimes people who want to do something that's so genre defying can go too far, and you've got to like keep your audience with you and almost find a story that's like half familiar and then half new.
Yeah,
and if you go all new, you can lose people, and it's unfortunate, because I think there's some good stuff out there that goes all new and can't find an audience.
Yeah, like, I mean, the Dark Tower, whatever the hell that is, like, that exists,
That's exactly right. But Stephen King is the type of author who can write like 2-3 books a year.
That's true, yeah, no.
Because of cocaine, if we're being honest.
Doesn't do it anymore, but yes, cocaine really helped him back in the day.
Right?
No.
But he had such a big career already with his horror writing that when he could do fantasy, he could kind of get readers to go over and try the weird stuff, But a lot of authors can't write 2 different genres at the same time.
Yeah, that's why I get kind of annoyed when people describe King as like a horror author. I'm like, yes, that's what he's known for, and he does it very well. But like, when you tap into his like work and kind of go into the deep dive, like it gets freaky.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot of stuff. Like, I just put it this way: I'm like, as long as he's not doing alien invasion stories, we're good. Yeah.
I was gonna say, didn't he do a book about the JFK assassination?
Yes, it's called 11/22/63, and it's amazing. It's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, I haven't read it. Yeah,
I still think it's his best modern book.
Right. So that is, I haven't read it, but is that like, it's not horror, not fantasy at all?
I mean, I mean, there's like spooky stuff in it, but it's not a horror book.
Yeah.
It's really like it's actually a love
Yeah.
story, like at its core is what it is. But
Okay.
it's not really,
Okay.
it's not really sci-fi either because like it's not really scientific. It's just like he goes in this like
Mm.
it's like a it's not a basement. It's like a damn it. I wish this were live. People would be like, "It's this, Britton." I'll be like, "Damn it."
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's like a pantry. He goes in the pantry and bam, he's in 19, he's in like I think it's 1958 in the book.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And it's like and he'll come back and it's like 2 minutes have gone by, like barely any time's gone by. So, you're like, "Oh, interesting."
Hmm.
But anyway, yeah, it's a great book, that one. But yeah, no, he's done a lot more than just horror. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, out there fantasy. I mean, I mean, some of my favorite. I mean, some of the books I find they're kind of, trying to move away from like the Tolkien, Howard models. They're more like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, or like American Gods, where it's like here's these like people like Neil Gaiman or Susanna Clarke kind of pulling out these kind of old mythological stories and like reformatting them for like a modern audience.
Mm.
Or
Yeah, it's true. I think there's a lot of people doing the Abercrombie model these days, which is the grimdark, more gritty or more violent. Or we have the Sanderson model, which is all hard magic systems.
yeah.
And I think now those are the ones to copy in many ways. Yeah. And I think if you're writing an idea, you've got to try to make it original. You can have a couple of similarities, but yeah, the more original, I think
but I think like the epic fantasy that kind of plays with that Tolkien, or Howard model that kind of does something. They do something different, like with Joe Abercrombie. It's like, oh, let's add this kind of like darkly humorous, kind of satirical part to this world, so it's not just like grimdark the whole time. Or George R. R. Martin, who's going like, well, what if this were actually real? What if this like were a real world that existed? What would that be like? I think both of those things can be well, but after a while, you're just kind of like, okay, where does fantasy go from there?
Yeah, interesting. Now, I'm curious, Britton, are you writing anything? Because I know a lot of booktubers have a little project on the side.
Before I answer that, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick, and I'll answer you when I get back because I've been trying to hold it, and it's like, nope, not anymore. So I'll be right back. I'll just cut this out of the part.
Oh, good. Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, real sorry about that. It's like I couldn't hold it in anymore.
Good.
Am I writing anything? Yes, actually. Yes, I am. Yeah, no, I try not to talk about it too much because like I'm always nervous that I'll like get people excited and then I'll be like, oh, I'm still working on it, and like, dang it. But yeah, one of the things the thing I'm working on. What's funny, I actually just finished editing it. Well, going through the edits, I'm gonna edit it some more. But I've just recently completed editing the second draft, so now we're going to the third one.
Oh. Congrats.
Yeah, no, it's it took a lot of time and a lot of harassment from because my dad was like, "When are you gonna edit this damn thing?" And I'm like, "I have college." So yeah, I'm out of college now.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
But yeah, it's a book. It's called The Plague of Nightmares. I stole that from the Baz Lag trilogy, which is another interesting example of just a. I'll get into that in a moment, but I stole it from that, and I stole a couple of other things from Perdido Street Stage particularly. But I liked how that title sounded because originally it was something stupid like "This Person Comes." I'm like, that's dumb. And then I saw A Plague of Nightmares. I'm like, that sounds more sexy as a title. I think more people will be like, oh, what's that? And then read it. But how would I describe it? It's like a small town mystery because I didn't want to do like a whole big kind of here's the world, here's how it works. I wanted something a bit more intimate so people could be like, oh, okay, I could just jump in here, have a good time, and if I like this book, I could just jump into the next one.
So what's Plague of Nightmares about? Like, do you have a elevator
Well,
pitch ready, or are we not there yet?
it's basically the setup is this guy. He's called Koba.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a guy who solves problems, usually through
Mm-hmm.
violence, but sometimes not. He gets in trouble with the religious authorities, and he has a
Mm-hmm.
acquaintance who goes, "Hey, there's this problem in this town, a couple towns over that there's some weirdness going on over there. If you could solve that for me, I can drop this for you." And he realizes he has no choice, and he
Mm-hmm.
goes to solve it basically, and runs into a lot of problems over there.
Nice. Sounds very mystery heavy.
Yes, kind of. Even though it's like it's kind of like a cat and mouse. It eventually becomes like a cat and mouse type
Okay,
of
yeah,
thing
yeah.
towards the end when I was writing it, because I was like, oh well, it's okay. Hopefully it works out. But yeah, no, it's kind of. It's also inspired by my fascination with like colonial America and
Mm-hmm.
Puritans, particularly. I'm really fascinated by Puritans. So basically the
Puritans have a fascinating history.
Yeah, the which my religious order, if you will, they're basically warrior Puritans. Like they have the little costumes and
Oh,
stuff, and yeah, they're basically I call them judges because because I was reading the Bible and there's the judges, and it would be people who would like
mm-hmm.
and I'm like I'm stealing that. um, so yeah, that's the guy who sends the main character on. Which is funny. I had some because it's not really a spoiler. He meets her at the beginning, but anyway, he meets this nurse and they kind of form a friendship, um, and a lot of people were like, "Hey, that nurse character's great." And I'm like, well, it is kind of her story, so I mean, I guess that makes sense. I'm glad people like it, so I feel a lot better when I
Good.
actually put it out into the world. Um, I'm sorry if that's like real jittery and all over the place, but that's kind of the pitch for it. I know
No,
you've
that's
also. I also. I know you've written some stuff. You're kind of doing a little urban fantasy thing going about like a.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
So I
So
saw you and John
similar
Minton talk
to
about it. Um,
yes, that was a great chat.
it was like a
Yes.
year ago now. That was a while ago.
Yeah, no, John and I both we each wrote a book, and we read each other's books and then interviewed each other's about each other's books. It was one of the coolest
it's
things
funny. I'm
I
like,
got
oh,
to
it's that
do.
dude who made the Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell video on John's channel. I gotta watch it. Yeah, so.
Too good. Yeah, no, I've written 3 books now, and we published them all at once through a big Kickstarter. And in many ways, I started the YouTube channel because I was like, I'm nearly done with these books. In another year or two, I got to promote them somehow because I'm going to go through the indie publishing route. And yeah, 3 books out now, and I'm writing the final chapters on book 4. So it will be like an ongoing urban fantasy series. And I won't lie, book 4 is kicking my butt at the moment.
Yeah,
And
well,
it's also funny because I haven't quite picked a title yet. Because titles are a weird thing. Like I had a title
I
for
know
book
it's
1,
funny, isn't it?
and then I had to change it.
Like I started
But
work
book
on
2
the.
and
Oh, sorry.
3. No, that's right. Yeah, book 2 and 3. I had the title before I even started writing a single word. And then book 4, I'm nearly finished. I still can't pick the damn thing. So titles are such a funny art form. Sometimes they come easy, sometimes they don't.
That's so funny you say that because like I always have a hard time with titles because I'm just like I'm not. I mean, I wish I could be like Philip K. Dick and just come up with these weird out there titles that you're like, what are you even talking about? But but sometimes they'll just show up in the midst of writing it. Like I started work on the second book for this series because it's kind of a series, or it is a series, but whatever. I'm planning on it to be a series. But I can't figure on a title for it. It was I originally was going to call it The Devils You Know. But I'm like, well, the third book kind of has a little bit more to do with demonic entities, so I think that would be a better title for book 3. And then for like book 2, I'm like, I picked Those Who Wander, which is from Lord of the Rings, obviously. So I decided to pull that, and that's kind of the placeholder for the moment. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, no, Plague of Nightmares was a bit of serendipity because I picked up that Perdido Street Station. I'm like, Plague of Nightmare sounds really fun. That would be a great title. I hope no one's taken this before. I'm just gonna steal it. So, yeah. Again, sorry again if that's real jittery. I'm always kind of like, when people go like, "So what are you working on?" And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
No, I completely understand. But it's one of those tough things where, like,
I'm
if
sure
you go
you
the
know.
self-publishing route.
Sorry,
That's right. If you go the self-publishing route, you have to get comfortable with promoting your own work.
Yeah, no.
As uncomfortable as the thing it is, like, I still feel uncomfortable.
No, I mean,
even though, like, I'm really proud of my work.
I mean, I'm
So,
down with promoting my work. It's just like it's not out in the world yet. So when people ask me about it, I'm just kind of like, yeah, and like how much I should give away.
That's fair.
But I mean, I'm not again. I'm sure it'll be fun. Like I was actually watching Tori Talks today. She's talking about like she's kind of grown disillusioned with Amazon, and she's like, we're gonna have to part ways. And I'm like, oh, okay. I have leaned on self-publishing because I don't know if pseudo-colonial mystery, small-town mystery would really work in trad publishing. I would be surprised if it did, but I've thought about both ways. But I'm like, I've seen people like you and the Mintons and Tori or Joe Byrne. I don't know if you've read the Hybrid Helix books yet, but I've seen them just like get their books out there to their audiences, and people like it. Which going into the whole indie rabbit hole, which I'm just like, oh man, it's hard enough, with this whole with traditionally published fantasy. Now it's like, oh, here's this indie thing that's blown up. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I am leaning on self-publishing it, but I don't know. I'm heavily leaning on self-publishing it because I would be, keep in mind, pleasantly surprised if like a trad publisher would be like, hey, this book's actually pretty rad. We're going to put it out there. And I'm like, oh, really? Awesome. But I feel like it would work better in self-pub because I've read a couple of them, which, we were talking about books to recommend for beginner fantasy. I'd be like, hey, you should try the Adan trilogy by Philip Chase. It's basically all the fantasy trappings, and it's really good and beautiful and moving. You should read it. Because like what I recommend like the first law to newcomers. I've thought about it, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe. Sorry, I've just gone in like 3 or 5 different directions to the question you asked me, but the answer is I'm leaning on self-pub.
Well, by all means, try traditional publishing. It is a lot of work to put query letters together and have like multiple versions of the same pitch. Like some agents want 2 paragraphs of a pitch, ones want full pages, some want a query letter and then a synopsis that summarizes the whole book. So it's a little bit different, and you got to do a lot of work to tailor your approach for every single person. And even then, a lot of them don't give you feedback. You just never hear from them again. So it can be a lot of work. But it's also worth trying.
I've heard how people. I've met people who've edited for, well, I've watched like videos and I've met people who edit, and just like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'll open it and I'll like read a page and then I'll put it down and see if it's worth my time. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like it seems like a lot of pressure. But it's worked out for people. I've met people who are traditionally published. It's worked out for some people. But it's I am leaning on self-publishing because again, I'm kind of attracted to the freedom it gives you to kind of move around a little bit.
Well, it's an interesting thing. When I went to university about and did all this writing stuff, I remember one of my lecturers telling me that publishing houses, if you pitch them, you'll be lucky if they read the first page. And I was like, what? That's outrageous. What if I have a plot twist on page 100? And he's like, they're not going to read 100 pages. They've got 100 pitches to get through every day. They're going to read the first page. And I was like, that's so unfair. And then all these years later, I have people pitch me indie books to review on the channel. And I read the first page and you can tell straight away, yeah, this book is not ready for publication, or this book is clearly well written. Yeah. And it really is. It's about how well they command language, how well they communicate, set the scene. It's almost instinctive in many ways, but it's not about having the perfect opening. It's about making sure that you're confident in your writing style and that you can paint a picture, you can focus in on a character, you can give us their motivation, and yeah, you can tell pretty quickly. So that is how the trad publishing world works a little bit. It can be a bit brutal, but it's also a little fair, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I've read like horror stories from authors I like where they're like, I've submitted like 70 times, and I'm like, look, I'm 25, or I'm gonna be 25 actually in March, but I'm gonna be 25. I mean, I still have some time, but like I one of my like kind of fears as a writer, if you will, is I spend so much time trying to get this one thing traditionally published when I could just put it out there. I mean, I don't know if it's for free. You still have to like get money or whatever, but like you can just put it out on Amazon, get it directly to your audience, and I've seen it work out for some people, which I know they have bigger channels than I do, but nonetheless, it still works,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just saying I've been very tempted by the self-publishing option, which I know it's not easy by any means. Like I said, I'm good friends with Joe Byrne, who writes the Hybrid Helix, and he's like, I mean, I'm burning a bunch of money, doing this. I'm not getting too much back, but he still thinks it's worth it because he's getting the stories out there to his audience. So I'm like, I that's something to think about. But again, I'm kind of fascinated, which I know Daniel Green started out as a self pub before he got signed because he's so big. Which again, I think he did a video about Daniel Green's book too. Cause what haven't you done, Michael? What haven't you done? What haven't you done, Mr. Cronk? That's
right. Yes.
That's the real question. But sorry, going back to my what my answer is. I have been very tempted by self-publishing because again, you're just getting the story out to the audience, and I haven't read as much indie as I would like to. There's certainly indie series I would love to get to, like J.L. Odom's books, or I am blanking on her name. But it's those like real popular, kind of like the Lives of Locke Lamora a little bit. She was like her name's Jacqueline. I think her name's Jacqueline. I'm forgetting her last name. It's very popular on BookTube. I can't think of her name or the name of her books.
While you think of that, one thing I'll add is I think with self-publishing, like whether you go trad or self-publishing, either way, it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time.
I'm not. I'm sure it does.
Yeah, a lot of people often forget that, and I think one of the best case studies is Michael Miller, who did the Dragonblade trilogy and the Songs of Chaos series, and he's doing well for himself. I'd consider him a very successful indie author, but he talked about how for the first 3 years of publishing, he didn't really make much money. And it wasn't until he did his fourth book, in his second series, that he really finally got an online following. And nowadays he does pretty well. But it's like a writer's career is something you got to spend years investing into before it builds up the momentum. So you gotta be patient. You gotta do the work, but it's definitely possible.
No, I mean I know it's. I mean I'm not. I don't want to pretend that it's going to be like a walk in the park, if you will. But yeah, I've just been more is seduced the right term? I'm more tempted by by self-pub again, because it's like you can just get it out there, people will read it, and also you can go on all these booktube channels who will prod you about how you wrote this book. Which honestly, I would like to do. Like, hey, BookTube guys, if when I put my book out, you have my full permission to harass me and ask me to come on your channel. So you've heard it here. But anyway,
very nice.
I am looking.
Well, Britton, I may have to wrap it up there.
Oh, okay.
Just because. Yeah, sorry, mate. Was there any other questions you wanted to get off your chest before we leave?
I mean, not really. I mean, this was fun. I'm glad we managed to
get this
together. Sorry, sometimes when I get in the midst of like, oh, this is a great conversation.
Yeah, I know.
But
I'm
sometimes I
one
get
like
carried
that. I
away.
gotta wrap things up.
No, but yeah, thank you for coming on. Did I just call you
No, my
Kronk?
pleasure. Yeah, you can call me Cronk. That's
Okay,
totally
I'll just call you
fine.
Kronk. But thank you, Kronk, for coming on the channel and hanging out for a little bit. But before I leave, just one thing: if you have social media, which I'm sure is quite a bit, because you're quite big on YouTube, but if you have social media, feel free to share it.
With you?
The audience.
So I'm okay. Yeah. So on
For like
Instagram, I just have
the
one
couple
Instagram.
people
I'm
who
Kronk.
might not know who you are.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, I'm just Kronk the book guy on Instagram. I'm not big on social media. Again, like I like my books. I'm a quiet person, the rest of the time. But I do try to be a bit more accessible on social media. I will also
I had to
plug, so
reach
my
out
books are the
through email.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
No, it was
Honestly,
funny.
emails
No, it
better.
was funny.
I read my emails better. But no, my books are the Immortal Investigations. There's 3 of them, and we've just finished getting the audiobooks up online as well. So if you want to do an audio listen, you can absolutely do that. I got a great British narrator who does all the accents and voices, and I'm very happy with how they've turned out. And if you haven't already, you should subscribe to Britton, because I think he's a wonderful, friendly guy with a lot of knowledge and a lot of love for books, and I think he's doing good work. So
Thank you.
thanks a lot for having me, Britton.
Thank you,
So I just
Kronk.
plugged you at the end there.
I'm very humbled that you came on here. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and well, until next time, see you guys later. Bye bye.
See you later.